Hey everyone, Mandy Squires here. Welcome back to Mandy's Not So Small Talk. And today we're going to explore a topic that doesn't get as much attention as it should. The father complex, which last time we talked about the mother complex, so it just seems reasonable that the next one we would talk about would be the father complex. So, just like the mother complex, the psychological concept plays a significant role in shaping who we are and how we interact with others and how we navigate our relationships. So, let's dive in. First off, what is the father complex? In Jungarian psychology, the father complex refers to the unconscious associations, the feelings, and the expectations that we have towards our father or father figures in our lives. These feelings, whether they're positive or negative, profoundly impact how we approach authority, achievement, and relationships, especially with men, whether you're a man or a woman. So, one way the father complex might manifest is through our relationships with authority. So, if we had a father who was distant, critical, or emotionally unavailable, we might struggle with feelings of inadequacy or a constant need to prove ourselves. And so this can show up in our careers where we feel like we're never good enough, or in our relationships where we seek validation from partners who may replicate that distant or critical dynamic. So on the flip side, if we had a father who was overly dominant or controlling, we might rebel against authority or struggle with commitment. This could lead us to issues in both our professional and personal lives, where we either resist being tied down by expectations or conversely find ourselves in relationships where control and dominance are major themes. So now let's get personal for a moment, In my own journey, I've discovered that the father complex can be particularly insidious because it often operates under the radar. For instance, you might find yourself constantly striving for success or recognition, not realizing that you're actually chasing your father's approval or the approval of an internalized father figure. This can be exhausting, and it can prevent you from finding true satisfaction in your accomplishments because the underlying need is never truly met. The father complex has a significant impact on our romantic relationships. So if our relationship with our father was fraught with tension, inconsistency, or unmet needs, we might unconsciously seek out partners who mirror those dynamics. Maybe guilty. Damn. So, this can lead to a cycle of trying to fix our partner or the relationship as a way of resolving the unresolved issues that we have with our father. But here is the tricky part. Just like with the mother complex, we might also find that the qualities we associate with our father influence what we find attractive or repulsive in a partner. For example, if our father was emotionally unavailable, we might be drawn to partners who are similarly distant, hoping to finally win their love and their approval and their attention. Or we might go to the other extreme, avoiding any partner who shows even a hint of emotional distance out of fear of reliving that old wound. So we could see it could be either end of the spectrum. So this dynamic can create a lot of confusion and frustration, especially when we find ourselves in relationships that seem to replicate the very patterns that we're trying to escape. It's like being caught in a loop, where we keep replaying the same story with different characters, hoping for a different ending. That's not the definition of insanity. So one of the most profound realizations I've had about the father complex is how it can affect our sense of self-worth. If we grew up feeling like we could never measure up to our father's expectations, we might carry that sense of inadequacy into adulthood. And this can manifest as perfectionism, imposter syndrome, or deep-seated fear of failure. It's like there's always this voice in the back of your mind saying, you're not enough. And no matter how much you achieve, it's never quite enough. To silence that little voice. Ooh. So, what does this mean for men and women? While the core issues of the father complex are similar, they can show up differently depending on the gender, okay? So for men, the father complex often resolves around issues of identity, success, masculinity. So a man might feel like he has to live up to his father's standards or rebel against them, both of which can create internal conflict and tension in his relationships and his career. For women, the father complex can influence how they relate to men in general. A woman might seek out partners who embody the qualities of her father, whether those are positive or negative, or she might find herself in relationships where she feels a need to fix or heal the unresolved issues she experienced with her father. This can lead to a pattern of attracting emotionally unavailable or controlling partners as a way to either resolve or avoid the wounds of the past. So just, for example, I attracted patterns that were like my father, which was one way, and my mom's boyfriend, for the majority of my younger childhood, he was a different way. And I also attracted partners who were like him. So I had different father figures with different energies, both toxic types of energies that I ended up attracting. And so, yeah, wonderful. I have a few different varying complex attractions that I really had to dig into. So now let's touch on what happens when our fathers were neglectful or absent. This can have a profound impact on our sense of security and identity. So growing up without a father or with a father who was emotionally absent can leave us feeling unanchored, as if we're missing a crucial piece of our foundation. So this can lead to a deep sense of insecurity, and we might find ourselves constantly searching for that missing piece in our relationships, in our careers, or even in our sense of self. In relationships, the absence of a father figure can lead to a fear of abandonment or a tendency to become overly dependent on our partners for validation and support. And we might also struggle with trust issues, always waiting for the other shoe to drop, convinced that love and support will eventually be withdrawn. So this can make it difficult to fully commit or to allow ourselves to be vulnerable in relationships out of fear that we'll just be left alone. So what can we do about the father complex? First and foremost, it's about awareness, understanding that these patterns exist, and recognizing how are they showing up in our life is the first step towards the healing. Take some time to reflect on your relationship with your father or father figures and what patterns you see in your relationships, in your career, in your sense of self. How might these be connected to your early childhood experiences? And once you've identified these patterns, it's important to start the process of healing. So this might involve therapy, where you can explore these issues in a safe and supportive environment. It might also involve doing some inner child work, where you connect with and nurture parts of yourself that still carry the wounds of the relationship with your father. For those of us dealing with issues of self-worth or perfectionism, it's crucial to start challenging those inner voices that tell us we're not enough. This might mean setting boundaries, learning to say no, no, no. Or simply giving yourself permission to be imperfect. That's what I've been doing lately, is working with that aspect, is that it's okay for me to make mistakes. I can still be loved even though I make mistakes. I can still be loved while I'm a work in progress, while I'm a little bit messy, and I'm still worthy of love. So remember that your worth isn't determined by your achievements or by how well you measure up to someone else's standards. It's actually intrinsic, and it's time to actually start believing that. Lastly, in relationships, it's important to start practicing healthy boundaries and communication. So if you notice that you're slipping into old patterns, just take a step back and reassess. Are you trying to fix your partner? Are you seeking validation from someone who can't or won't give it? By bringing these unconscious patterns to the light, you can start making different choices that lead to healthier, more fulfilling relationships. So, to wrap this up, I want to leave you with a thought. The father complex, like the mother complex, isn't about blaming our parents or how our lives turned out. It's about understanding how our early experiences shaped us so that we can take responsibility for our own healing and our own growth. So by doing this work, we're not just healing our relationships with others, we're healing our relationship with ourselves. So if this topic resonated with you, I encourage you to explore it further, whether through therapy, whether through reading or self-reflection. And as always, take care of yourself. And I'll see you in the next video. So don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell button. And I'm going to be more consistent with videos. So it would definitely be encouraging to see new likes, new subscribes, and any comments that you might have about this topic. I would love to read them. So please, I encourage you to interact with me. I will interact back. So looking forward to it. Have a wonderful day and put some thought into this, because it's very intriguing. I find it intriguing anyways. So see you in the next video.